Hey, is that folk music that you play there? What is that? How do you call that folk music?
I think it was Studs Terkel who asked Big Bill Brunzi, did he consider his blues music to be folk music? And Big Bill says, well, never heard no horses.
Don't hesitate. It could be your ticket to a new tomorrow.
Write me a letter, baby, when you get to Statesville. Write me a letter, baby, when you get to Statesville. Well, I don't know if they'll let you, but I'm hoping they will. Write me a letter, baby, no, I miss you so. Write me a letter, baby, you know I miss you so. I always knew this day was coming on, still I hate to see you go. Well, I've been thinking about it since the night that we spoke, and I don't think you're crazy, but then what do I know? Why don't you write me, baby? Say that you will. Why don't you write me, baby, when you get to Statesville? I don't know your uncle, and I never saw the gun. And for another $100, that's what I'll keep on telling everyone. Write me, baby. Something tells me you can find the time. Why don't you write me, baby, when they drag you back across the county line? Write me, baby, when you get to Statesville. When you get to Statesville, when you get to Statesville.
cool writing and some hot picking from our guest here today on Horses Sing None of It. My name is Ralph Litwin, and this fellow with us has been featured at some of the real hot big-name festivals, at Merle Fest, the Philadelphia Folk Festival, at Falcon Ridge, and he's played with Aztec Two-Step and Duke Robillard, among many others. And his name is David Hamburger.
Nice to be here.
Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you.
I'm enjoying hearing you in person, up close here. Some hot picking, man.
Well, that's TV. You've got to be close together. There's only a few cameras. Got to make sure everybody's in the picture.
Yeah. You have some other TV experience. Why don't you tell us about that?
I do, yeah. I did a season as one of the musicians on the cooking show Emerald Live, which apparently every musician that all my musician friends watch, because they all come home from their gigs and they stay up late and they watch. Musicians like to eat, you know. They know how to they know all the gigs in all the different towns you might play, but then they also know like where the good barbecue is. You know, like if like everybody who goes to play in Syracuse, New York knows there's this one barbecue joint you have to go to, and some bands I've been playing with schedule it so that they can go there twice. You know, once on the way through, going further up to Rochester, and on the way back without the gig, they still make sure they get there before it closes, you know, before they hit the road for New York. So cooking and food seems to go together.
Yeah. Speaking about barbecue, have you been to Uncle Gibbs Southern Barbecue in Staten Island yet?
You know, I haven't. This is the first I've heard about it. But it's funny you mentioned the Merle Fest, because I went, when I played there, it was Passover. And, you know, I'm Jewish, and this was a problem. So I was just imagining going up to the counter and saying, I'll have the pulled pork barbecue, but I'd like it on matzah. It was kind of a non-starter. The whole thing was kind of a wash, I have to say. So worked out okay in the end.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't you give us another tune?
Sure enough. This is both the last tune and this tune are from a record I just finished recording in October.
Oh, anyway, Uncle Gibbs they have bluegrass every Saturday night.
And barbecue.
And barbecue in Staten Island.
Why wasn't I told about this sooner?
Oh, I'm filling you in now.
Well, all right then. That makes several things to go to Long Island for. I'm Staten Island.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. So
no, that's all right. So anyway, this song, this is actually one of the only tunes that I actually did completely solo on the record, and this is called The Photograph. Got a photograph of Willie Dixon hanging on the wall. A milk crate full of 45s and a Princeton reverb in the hall. And no one knows me by my name now. No one knows it all. No one knows I used to be the first one they would call. Well, that's me in the picture with a brand new Telecaster. Just played 4 sets in Baltimore. Oh man, what a disaster. Cart all your gear and pay for your beer. Then they crank the jukebox back up. The drummer takes a snapshot and you turn around and pack up. The piano player on my left, she had worked one time with Dizzy. Someone said she was just 19 years old when she came from Kansas City. She could run the changes ragged, she could play the blues all night. But it's rock and roll that paid the bills, and I guess she did all right. Now the mailman comes at 3:30, and once he brought a check for a song cut 30 years ago. The last thing I'd expect A handshake and a shot of whiskey, that's the way it went. Well, the chicks would sing and the phone would ring and the money all got spent. So the kettle's nearly whistling and the eggs are almost fried, and I've got on my old trousers with the satin piping down the side, and I might get to the park today and watch the couples kissing and the young punks with their radios that don't know what they're missing. Got a photograph of Willie Dixon hanging on the wall.
Right. I was on a website collecting lyrics a couple days ago or a week ago, and it was amazing how many cool songs Willie Dixon wrote.
Yeah, all the ones that you think Muddy Waters does. I mean, Muddy Waters wrote because you just associate them with Muddy Waters.
Yeah.
I have a trio that sort of actually the guys that play on the record, Artie Beguer and Dan Vonnegut, they're the bass player and the drummer on the record, and they're actually sort of my working band when I play just around in New York City. And we do a version of one of those Muddy Waters tunes from the 50s, and I think it's actually a Willie Dixon song. I'm not completely sure. That's why I always sort of fudge it when I introduce it. Because we kind of changed it around, so I introduce it as, this used to be a Muddy Waters song.
Which one?
We do this tune, I Just Want to Make Love to You, which actually apparently has been covered by bazillions of people.
Yeah, that's a great song. I don't want to. Well, we can't do any more of that.
That's right.
It's Willie Dixon's song. Or maybe Muddy Waters. But the album we're referring to is one that's not yet released, but it will be soon, I take it.
Yes, it will, sometime this spring.
And this is a mock-up cover that the artist provided us that is something like what it will look like, but not exactly. But you do also have another album.
We do indeed.
When did this one come out?
That came out in 1995. So,
a few years ago.
Yes, indeed.
So, if you want information, ladies and gentlemen watching this show, or children of all ages,
isn't someone going to go like this?
You can, and you have a computer, you can go to David's website, or you can call the 800 number, and I have to put on my glasses actually to see it, as I stare over into the monitor in all contravention.
Doesn't this look natural as we look at the monitor?
1-800-289-6923 to find out information about David's recordings. And I guess on that website they can look at your schedule too?
Yep, there's links to the schedule, there's links to email and booking and all kinds of things, and there's groovy photographs and a little Ask Dave section, which is a little bit out of date, but I answer controversial questions like how I ended up playing music and junk like that. So it's informative in a tasteful, unnecessary kind of way.
Cool. Well, I'll have to check it out next time I'm.
It's also basically in black and white. It's sort of a sepia tone, very elegant. Understated.
Okay. I see you have a bottle on your finger.
I have a
nice blue one.
Isn't this nice? Yeah, it's actually porcelain.
Ceramic.
This is the state of the art today. You don't just break a bottle off in an alley and sort of sand it down. You go out and you buy a piece of handmade porcelain glazed hoodly-doo. It's great. I like to explain to people that it combines all of the density of metal and all the smoothness of glass in a small, easily breakable package. And as you can see, it's got little chips on it, for the
Drop
studio.
it a few times and it's a goner, eh?
Yeah, you got to be careful with these babies, but they sound great. So.
Cool. Well, let's hear what it sounds like. I've seen David perform a few times at the Folk Alliance, the Northeast Folk Alliance convention out in the Poconos, where he's forever appearing as sideman to X, Y, and Z performer, all in the same show.
It's a daunting task. Well, yeah. as such, I get exposed to lots of songwriting, and there's a frequent theme, which is the "You Can't Go Home Again" theme. This song instead is the "What if you never left and someone else decided to come home? What a pain that might be" song. Big news travels fast in a small-time crowd, and that's how I knew that you were back in town. I never could refuse you, I guess I never will. I guess I should welcome you back to Coral Hill. I heard you made it to Memphis, like they say. Do the ghosts of old forgotten juke joint singers haunt each alleyway? And when you stood on the bluffs and you watched that river flow, or was it everything you dreamed of so long ago? So do you look any older? Tell me, do you feel the same? Do you still wake the neighbors up when you listen to Elmore James? Or do you ever think about that night in Louisville? Or do you have fond memories of life in Coral Hill? Travels fast, but hardly makes a sound. It just picks you up and rattles you and sets you back on down. I can hear the phone ring, but I'm just standing still. Well, it's been so peaceful for so long in Coral Hill. So do you look any older? Tell me, do you feel the same? Or do you still wake the neighbors up when you listen to Elmore James? And do you ever think about that night in Louisville? Or do you have fond memories of life in Coral Hill? Do you have fond memories of life in Coral Hill?
Good one. I like that.
Yeah, a friend of mine described that and a few of the other songs as belonging to the genre called chicken fried noir. So I like that.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Well, the best thing I could come up with up until now is to say that the songs come from the school of hypothetical realism. But I like chicken fried noir.
Are you originally from New York area?
No, I'm from Boston. Well, from the suburbs of Boston. I can't really say I'm from Boston because I never spent a lot of time there, except for Harvard Square when I was a kid. But now I moved to New York when I got out of school, and I've been there ever since, except for forays out to play music and do other stuff. So
Boston's a hotbed of folk music.
it certainly is. It certainly is. And I'm always forever getting little clippings from my folks in the mail to that effect.
Trying to nudge you to move on back.
Well, they just they're just letting me know. I have options. So.
Yeah. I get
cool.
those little clippings from my parents too.
Yeah. Do they live in Boston too?
No.
I mean,
Nothing to do with Boston. It's just parents sending clippings to.
well, yeah, it's cool. I mean, my parents are great. They're very much behind this whole scheme of mine.
That's great.
Yeah, about 7 years ago, first time I had a band actually. They were very good sports. They came to New York for the weekend. My sister lives there too. She's a painter, and I was playing on the Lower East Side at this place called Nightingale's. This very dubious sort of neighborhood. I mean, at least as far as my parents are concerned, And they were great sports. They came down and they saw it, and there were a ton of people there, which was really nice. And they were like, "Okay, well, now what do you got to do next?" And I was like, "Well, I got to make a CD, probably." Like, "Well, you probably ought to go do that then." They've been very, as opposed to saying like a CD. Why would you want to make a CD? They're cool. They're.
When are you getting a real job?
Yeah, no, they
Kind of thing you expect to hear from parents.
They get it. They get it. I mean, it's also like I've written a couple of instructional books and stuff, and those are things that they can like put on the mantle for when the neighbors come over and they can say, "Look, he's done something." It's like a book.
Cool. Tell us about the books then.
Well, I've written a few. The first one was a beginning blues guitar book, electric blues styles. That was fun to write. And then I wrote a slide guitar book, which was just. There are a lot of books that do like the Delta style, but there aren't a lot of books that just do like electric slide guitar. And so that's what I did, and it was a lot of fun. And I'd been playing the dobro for a while at that point, and I had this real sort of snobbery, like, oh, well, why would you want to bother playing bottleneck guitar? Because the dobro, you reach over the top and you can do so much more than with the slide. But God, just listening to all the stuff that I had to listen to sort of get it squared away, I got much more involved back in playing bottleneck, and I started this trio a couple of years ago, and so I ended up playing a lot more slide guitar again. And then the last thing I did was a dobro book, actually, sort of a contemporary take on playing bluegrass with some sort of modern techniques for how to play.
These all from the same publisher?
Am I allowed to say the publisher on here? Yeah. The first one, the blues book, is published by Alfred, and as in Alfred Book 1. And then the electric slide is called Beginning Blues Guitar. And then the slide guitar book is called Electric Slide Guitar. And that's published by Hal Leonard, as is the new dobro book, which is called the Dobro Workbook. So I wrote all these
accomplishments.
I wrote all these very hard examples, and then I had to actually play them for the recording. And it took many, many takes. And the producer said, well, the engineer said, if you can't play them,
how's anybody else supposed?
And I was like, yeah, but this is unusual circumstances I have to play them under, I was just duress, exactly. Yeah, so it's a tough life, but someone's got to lead it.
And I suppose people could. Is there information on your website about those too?
Well, they're pretty much both available nationwide. Those are both
so go
national
into a bookstore
publishers.
And ask for David Hamburger's books. And
They should have them. Yeah, I mean, you can always email me through the website too if you're having trouble finding them. I might be able to help you out.
Another tune?
All right, sure. Recently become enamored of the open C tuning, which Paul Rochelle gave me some pointers on, and this new tune is written in that tuning. Soul in sight as we rode out that night. The streets were empty and still, and the fields were wet all around by the time we lay down in the grass out on Federal Hill. I only know a constellation or two, and I pointed them both out to you. Then we lay side by side, trying to decide what to do out on Federal Hill. Ask Providence to make too much sense. I wondered then, and now I always will. What possessed me to say I was going out that way as you were leaving for Federal Hill? 'Cause I only know constellation or two, and I pointed them both out to you. And now I look at the stars and wonder where you are, if you're dreaming of Federal Hill.
Got just a few seconds to do our little jam session.
Well, all right then. Better
It's been a
get to
pleasure
it.
to have you on.
It's been fun.
Enjoyed it.
Why don't you start it off? Give me 4.